Good morning.
Good morning.
Isn't it a Godnificent morning?
Yes.
Do we have any practical jokers in here? Anybody like to play practical jokes? Joanne, what's the biggest practical joke? Either any of you all want to share the biggest practical joke you? Mike?
Well, I used to have kids, and my ex at the time told the kids that I cut my finger off, and I had a ring box that I cut a hole in the bottom of. And they were like, "Oh, is it going to grow back?"
Oh, all right. That was pretty mean. Well, those of you that are practical jokers, I'd like to ask that you never play this joke on me. But I saw about this one time. Some of you may remember years ago when they had the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. And you know how they would have this big announcement, they'd show up at somebody's door, and you would have the television cameras, there would be a van outside that would say Publishers Clearinghouse, and there would be the announcer that is there, and they would say, "Congratulations, Jasper Cameron, you have won the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. $10 million, and they have the balloons and the celebration and all of that." And so there was a particular situation where they showed up at this woman's door announcing that she had been the winner of the sweepstakes. You know, Jasper liked it when he said yeah. And so they were all happy. The family was jumping up and down. They were embracing everyone. They were so glad that they had won the sweepstakes. And they were still basking in the glow when the woman's sister walked around from the side of the house, and she looked at her sister. She said, "Surprise!" It was all a joke.
Works tomorrow.
It's not good. But here's the thing. In talking about the fact this month, we have been looking at the fact that our thoughts create our reality, change your thinking, change your life. And I talked about the fact that circumstances, and last week we talked about circumstances, that it's the circumstances, it's not the circumstances themselves, it's our thoughts about the circumstances that make the difference in how we do. And think about this for a moment. If you were that person and they showed up at your door with the balloons and the van and the cameras and all of that and told you that you have won the sweepstakes, that you have won $10 million, what would your thoughts be? No more bills. If you worked a job, tomorrow I'm going in and I'm telling everybody goodbye. And I might tell a few people at work a couple of things I think about them. I need to go and tell my boss that. You would think that I've got it now. All of these things are great for me. Things I've been wanting to buy. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to get that. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to pay off that. All of those things. Just great, great, great. Thoughts just running. How many of you would feel like that? Ready to do that. And then your friend, your sister, your brother, somebody you know stepped around and said, "Surprise, it was all a joke. It's not true." What would your thoughts be then? You might feel you might be a little bit sad. Here I was thinking that I didn't have to go to work anymore and I got to go tomorrow. I thought my bills would be paid off, and now I got to write another check or send another electronic payment, all of those things. But if you think about it for a moment, the only thing that had really changed in that situation, because the big check that they would give you, the big check, real or not, it's just a piece of paper. It's our thoughts about that check that changed. It's the thoughts about them that change. It's like the old Zen story about a man who was in a boat and he saw another boat coming closer to him. And he couldn't see very well because it was kind of foggy and stuff, but he saw a figure and he thought, why is this boat coming toward me? I'm here in my boat, I'm here to relax, I'm here to do the things that I am here to do, and now this boat wants to get close to me. So he starts to become angry and is getting ready to start yelling at the person in the boat, and he looks and he says, again, all he can see is, maybe it looks like some rope there. There doesn't really seem to be anybody in the boat. So he relaxes, he's no longer angry. But then again, the boat keeps coming, and he looks again, and again says, no, man, I'm right, there is somebody in the boat. And he starts to get angry again, and the boat starts to get closer, and then he realizes, no, there's not anybody in the boat. And he goes back and forth. It's not the circumstance, but the thoughts about the circumstance that make the difference. And as we have talked about this month, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts. You are the one who thinks those thoughts. And just as you saw in the examples that I've used, that the only thing that really changed was the thoughts about the situation. Because circumstances are those things that we can't change. I mean, there are things that are happening in the world right now. We all would like to have world peace. But we can't right now in the current situation, in this present moment, change those things. We can work toward those things, but we can't change them in the present moment. But what we can change, what we do have control over, are our thoughts. You are the watcher. You can observe yourself having these thoughts. And as you have these thoughts, you can decide how I'm going to look at this. I saw one person say when I talked about when they found out that the check wasn't real, how a lot of us were like, I'd like to get them. One person said, well, it'd be okay. I didn't have it in the first place. Still don't have it, that's all right. It's our thoughts about those things. And so as we look at this diagram, and for those of you that are coming here today, maybe seeing this or hearing some of this for the first time, this month we're doing things a little bit differently in that we're doing more of kind of a semi-lecture, I don't like to call it a lecture, but just really looking at the way in which we do things. So we understand again that it's our circumstances that can trigger thoughts. That when we find ourselves in a circumstance, it triggers thoughts, which can cause feelings. The fact we're sad, we're happy, we're elated, we're depressed, we're joyful, we're angry, which can then cause our actions, what we do as a result of how we feel. That if I feel frightened, if I feel angry, if I feel happy or elated, whatever it is, then it causes me to act in a certain way, and then I get results. And so when we find ourselves in a negative loop, where we are not feeling the way we would like to feel when we are caught up in circumstances and we're thinking in a certain way, what happens is that when we get results, we use it as evidence to fuel further thoughts. Because again, remember, it's our thoughts that are at the bottom of these things. It's our thoughts that are behind that. It's our thoughts that are the way in which this whole negative loop continues to happen. And so we get caught up in there. And that's one of the reasons why when people come and they want to talk about, I will need you to pray with me or have treatment with me or see things. And one of the reasons why I will say to them, what is it that you want? And they want to get into, well, you know, let me tell you about what my brother did. I quite honest, I'm not really interested in what your brother did. It's not being cruel, it's not being mean, but what happens is that we get so caught up in the circumstances, and then we keep finding more and more evidence. You ever had something, not you, because nobody in here had, y'all are great. I'm talking to the people out here that are watching. Y'all are great, y'all are just fine. None of this y'all need, so you all are here overhearing this. For everybody else that is this thing. But you ever had a situation or circumstance, and I'll put it like this, you have a family member that had a confrontation with someone. Maybe they were at the store and somebody got in line in front of them, and when they called it to their attention, they got rude. And so then they had a few words, they exchanged words and all of that, then the situation, and then they went on home and all of that. And then you heard it one time, and then they got to call somebody else up and tell them the story. And then they go on Facebook and they post about the situation, and 72 likes and 36 comments on, yeah, it's a shame how people, what happens is you continue to gather evidence for how bad that circumstance was, and then the person goes around, we go around, that person, I said not y'all, not us, that person goes around feeling justified in their anger. And I'm not saying that we let people walk over us, that we're doormats or anything like that. But there's a certain point at which we have to let, number one, let that stuff go. Because it can mess your day up. Mess up your day, mess up your week, mess up your month, mess up your year, mess up your life. But the second thing is that it's over now. But we can get caught up in it. So say we have a negative thought pattern or a negative loop. We become aware of the fact that I'm continuing to think about this occurrence. I'm continuing to think about this situation, and I'm caught up in that. And so then what we have to do is we have to begin searching and finding, we talked about a better feeling thought. What would be a better feeling thought for me so that I can get to where I want to be, so I won't stay stuck in this mess? So we begin searching for ways, well, it's over now. Well, I was able to purchase what it was that I wanted, and now I'm enjoying that, and now I'm focusing on these things. And so then it causes me to begin to put that in the past, to move on beyond that. Because what happens is, you keep it up. People keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And now with the advent, well, not the advent, but now with the extra element of social media, stuff could go on for days. There's times lately where I'm just saying, I'm not looking at anything else today. I don't want to hear another thing about billboards or about anything else. I'm just cutting it off. Because what will happen is it can ruin things for us. So we have to then begin to recognize that if we want to, and here's the thing, that as we start to make the change, as we start to move from the negative loop into a more better feeling, more self-fulfilling, more positive loop, we can begin to insert in any of these other places something that can stop the loop, the negative loop. We could do an action that then the action will then start to change this. We could change our feeling, and then the feeling will begin to change the loop. We can, as Matthew reminded me in a brilliant way last week, we could do an act as if. Start with results as if they have already happened. You all remember New Year's Eve, we had an act as if party. So we talked from the understanding that it had already happened. It was already done. And we acted from that way. And several people last year, the first time that we did it, there were some people who said, that's kind of weird. And you talk to them, like it's already happened, it's already done all this and that. And there are several people who did that are now walking in those dreams, in that reality. So you can act as if and find yourself then changing things, because when you begin acting as if, you start to gather more evidence. When you start changing your thinking, then you start gathering more positive evidence. You all have heard us talk about before the reticular activation system. I sound educated right now. These are some big terms. The activation system. Yes. All it really is, if you've ever, let's say, bought a car, it may be a new car, it may be new to you. Let's say, what's somebody's favorite car?
Mustang.
Mustang. What color?
Red.
Red.
GT.
Red Mustang GT
5.0.
5.0. All right.
Spoiler in the back.
White wall in the back. So what happens is, you've been going around all this time, driving your normal car. Then you get that red Mustang GT 5.0 with spoiler in the back. Yes. You get in your car and you go down the street. You look over there. There's a Mustang GT 5.0 with a spoiler in the back. It might not be red, it might be black. But there's one that you go down another street and you see a red one. And you go a little bit further and you see another one. You get in the parking lot, you get out your car, and you notice that parked right behind you is another. You say, what, did they have a sale on or something? What has happened is that our awareness has become heightened, our reticular activation system, as we call it. So we begin seeing more and more and more and more of it. And what happens is, as we begin to see more and more and more of it, we live in from that space, and we live in that because we have seen and we have paid attention and we have begun to notice. And it's the same way with other things. It doesn't change the fact that there are now others around, and some of them have been there all the time. But the fact of the matter is, we start to notice them. And it's the same way with when we begin to change our thoughts, when we begin to change things, when we begin to break that loop, when we begin to see things, what happens for us, we start to understand that I'm gathering evidence now for the positive thing. So rather than getting all the stuff that's going to discourage me, I'm getting things that will encourage me, things that will help me. Because the thing of this, if we ultimately are going to change our thinking, we know that nature abhors a vacuum. So if you're going to take certain kinds of thought out, you need to fill them with something else, something positive, or else other negative stuff will come. You got rid of this one negative thinking about some of your exes.
Well,
I heard, but only to replace it with how despicable the people are at work. Or only to replace it with something else. No. Once we begin to make that change, we have to replace it with something else. Because I know one of the things I said was that we would talk about changing our thinking and keeping it changed. And the thing of it is that it's important to recall, that it's important to remember, is the fact that this is work that never stops. It gets easier because the more we practice it, the easier it gets. The more we put it into place, the easier it gets. Don't think you're going to get this overnight. But the more you practice it, the more you think about, I'm in this situation and I look at my body. I have a few extra pounds and can't stand to look at myself in the mirror. I got to loosen this belt out now. I had to, I had it look good before. I just feel heavy. And all of those things, we get caught up in those ideas and those thoughts. And we stay in those thoughts, but then we begin to say, first of all, we sang the song this morning, I love myself the way I am, pounds. And like I like to say all the time to my wife, I know somebody that likes it.
she asked who?
And I have an answer for that, but I'm not going to say it right now. But you start off with that. Because right in this moment, if you have extra pounds, you can't change it right in this moment. So we get caught up about stuff that we can't change right in this moment. We can't change it right in this moment. What can't you change? You can change your thoughts about it. You can start making some plans. Well, I'm not satisfied with it right now, but I'm going to love it right now. And then starting from here on, I'm going to make some positive steps, take some positive actions to do what I can about it and to see it and to say, again, I love myself. I love myself the way that I am. And then as I begin to think that, begin to affirm that, that's why we talk about in this teaching all the time, affirmations, that as I talk about I love myself, and then I start to feel good about the fact that I love myself. I mean, it's the thing that we want to do. And then as we do, then I'm going to do things that reflect this self-love. I'm going to begin making choices and doing things that reflect this self-love. And then I'll get results, and then people will see me and they'll say, whatever you're doing for yourself, keep on doing it because it looks well. Find yourself before stuck in the same old kind of relationship over and over and over again. It's just a different name with the same circumstance, the same situation, and you decide that I am more than this. And you start working from that premise that I am more than this, and you see yourself in that way. So then you say that I am not going to allow myself to be in situations and circumstances and with people that don't contribute to who I am. You take that action and you stay firm and resolved in that action. And then what happens is people start to drift away. Because you ever think about how I remember in life where it would seem like when it came to relationships, there would be those times when I would say, I must have my crazy light on. Because everywhere I turned and everything that would happen, there'd be some craziness involved. And I knew then that it was my energy, my vibration that was bringing me on the crazy. And a lot of times, it's difficult to sometimes see that. But if we continue to examine what our feelings are, or we look at our actions, because our actions, our results are evidence of what we are feeling, because we can say things, we can try to say things oftentimes, but what's outpicturing is ultimately going to be a true reflection of what our thoughts are. So, my crazy light was on because the craziness wasn't out there, wasn't out to anybody out there. The craziness was in here. And once I took full responsibility for the craziness that was in here, things changed. And even some of the people that were before around me that were part of the craziness, the way that I saw them changed. So the craziness thing changed. So when we continue to look at this and explore this and understand this, then we go back to the idea, because people say, well, this sounds great, this is a self-coaching model, all of that, and it sounds great, but you are an open heart spiritual center. Where's the spirit in this? Where's the spirit in this? Where's the spiritual in this? Where's God in this? I had somebody ask me that one time. I see y'all do all this stuff. Where's God in all of this? The fact that we live in a universe that responds to our thoughts, that we are a part of the expression, we are an expression of God that gives life to all things, that animates all things, that responds, that it is a loving presence that is who we are, that as we begin thinking loving thoughts, affirming thoughts, empowering thoughts, uplifting thoughts, as we see things and as we get our thought process straight, we get into the divine flow and we get into alignment, and then the creativity that we seek, the ideas that we seek, the resolution to things that we seek, all of the things that we pray about, and all of those things, we begin seeing things coming together and things unfolding, because the thing of it is that this Spirit has already been all the time, as the scriptures remind us, going before us to make the crooked places straight and the rough places plain, that it's already there for us. It is already making a way. It is already saying to us that you are loved and you are loving and you are an expression of love, and it is there. And as we begin to see that, and we get a lot of the crud out of the way that has been there, preventing us from seeing, preventing us from knowing this. It's like those times when you have a window that you're trying to look through, and the window is dirty, and there's spots, and there's grime, and there's all of that, and you can't see through it very well. But as you begin to do the process of cleaning, and you clean that window, and you get things where they are now sparkly and shiny, and you can begin to see through that. You can begin to understand what it means to have that clear thinking, to have that place that you operate from. You remember that great passage in Corinthians 13 that talks about all of the elements of love. And then it talks about at the end, though we look through a glass darkly, we suddenly then become able to see through clearly and to see and understand face to face. That as we take control of our thoughts, and as we understand that we are not our thoughts, we are the thinker of our thoughts. We are the watcher. We are the witness. We are the one who makes a choice. Now you come up and say something to me, I have the choice to decide. In this circumstance, I have the choice to decide how I'm going to think about it, how I'm going to see it, how I'm going to process it. And the universe responds and says, I got you. We are here. And so it is.
What?
Across an ocean on a boat that I call faith, and ventured out to sea to find and touch the face of God. With each passing day, my fears grow stronger and stronger. Darkness that enfolds me, time and space control me. Seems I've built some kind of wall that stands between who I am and the person who I always dreamed I'd be. Listening to a still small voice that screams inside of me. It says, feast on the mind of a body tonight. Search for the truth and a woman inside. See through the eyes of an innocent child again. True, and never really found enough It's God's love for you. As I drift upon the summer swell, I cast my dreams. I know me well. The answers that I seek are waiting on the other side. In reaching for the light, the veil becomes thinner and thinner. A seagull flies across the sky in colors of the wind. He's showing me there is no separation, isolation. There is no loss. It's a feast on the mind of abundance and life. Search for the truth and woman inside. See through the eyes of an innocent child again. Love like a river flows wide and deep in streams of compassion true. A never-ending fountain of praise is God's love for you. It's God's love for you.
Yeah. I invite you to take a breath, releasing this breath, knowing that there is only one presence and one power in the universe, and that is God. And as each of us embodies all that we have learned today, we take it in, we make it our own, and we simply live from those very truths. We give thanks for all who have participated today. We give thanks for the beautiful music, the centering moment, the affirmative reading, the lesson, and just the beautiful energy each and every person has brought into this space and into this place today. And moving forward, knowing that, yeah, sometimes those negative thoughts, they just get in a loop. They loop so bad, I call all my friends and I tell them, I done posted it on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything I can think of. I can just be there and be stuck. Then I take a breath, step back and say, is this really what I want? Do I really want to be stuck in this muck, in this mire, in this scrub? The answer is no. So I choose a better thought. I choose a better feeling. I replace that negative loop with something bright, beautiful, and positive. Knowing that if I leave, vacuum, I get more crud. But if I fill it with something positive and affirming, that's what I get. And my results are beautiful. So I release, and I let go, and I let God, and so it is.